Okay, so the problems we're going to look at is going to involve the AC method, and the AC method involves grouping. So remember there were two worksheets you had to turn in on grouping. And remember the grouping, you group the first two terms, group the last two terms, that idea. And I think I gave you another one today. So there were a bunch of stacks on your table. As you walked in, you're supposed to get one of each. So one of them was grouping. And I think it was worksheet F, if you recall. I think that was one of them. All right, so let's look at this example. We're going to use the AC method. Now, you want to factor this. You have 6x squared plus 11x plus 3. Okay? Now, on your test, on the test in 2 weeks, there will be one problem where I'm going to ask you to use the AC method. Okay, there's going to be one problem. Now, all the other problems that deals with factor will just say factor. You can use any method you want to. You can use the trial and error we've been doing, or you can use the AC method. But one of them will definitely say use the AC method. So for example, if I asked you to factor, let's say this right here, I'm going to put this as number 1 on this side. And let's say I asked you to factor 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. Based on what you know, what would you do? What was the first thing you would have to do? Find the GCF. What's the GCF? 1. Okay. Then what would you have to do then? The two binomials. All right. So you try and factor 2 binomials. All right. And so then you use FOIL. The idea of FOIL. All right. So then you do the F first. So you say what two factors multiplied together will give me 6x squared. There's two possibilities, 3x and 2x, and the other one 6x and x. Which one do you want to try? 3 and 2? All right, so let's put 3x here, 2x here. And the last term is negative 10, so let's go to the last. And remember, there are two possibilities for 10, 5 and 2, 10 and 1. What do you want to try? 10 and 1? Okay. All right, now, Am I going to, first of all, you said 10 and 1. Am I going to put the 10 here?
No.
No, because if you put the 10 here, that means you could factor out a 2, which meant that the original polynomial, the GCF was a 2, and it's not. What was the GCF? 1. So remember, we talked about that. You got to think like that. I don't think 10 and 1 will work, right? Okay, what do you want to try? 5 and 2? Okay, now I'm going to ask you again. Would it be feasible to put the 2 here? No, because if you put the 2 there, the same reason. If you put the 2 there, and you have to think like this, then that would mean that I could factor out a what out of this one? A 2, which meant that this whole thing was divisible by 2, and it's not. The GCF is not 2. All right, so 2 would not be where you would put that at. So where would you put the 2 and the 5? 2 here and the 5 there. All right, but again, you got to put in those signs. How do you determine what signs you're going to put in here? Okay, so tell me about this. It's negative, so that means these have to be different. All right, so let's say plus minus. It may be minus plus, right? Put something. Now, this is what I'm noticing some of you are doing. You're not checking. You're just putting things in there, and then you're going on. You have to check. And you check using FOIL. So what's my first?
3 and 2.
Yeah, so what do you get what do you get when you multiply them? 6x squared. What's the outer? Negative 15x. Okay, that's important. Now, some of you still have an issue with multiplication. A positive times a negative is a negative. What's the inner? 4x. What's the last? Negative 10. Okay? But you got to combine like terms. What do I get when I combine these like terms? Negative 11x. What did I want? Positive. So those are opposites. So all that means is I got to do what with these signs? Change them. So this is not correct. What should be correct would be 3x minus 2 times 2x plus 5. That would be the one that would be correct. Okay, so that will be your answer here. All right, so that's what we talked about last class period and the period before that. Now, what we're going to do today is talk about factoring this same idea, but using the AC method. All right, now the AC method involves grouping. It involves grouping. So remember when we did the problems using grouping, how many terms were involved when you did grouping? 4. Very good. How many terms do you see here in number 1 right here? 3. If I'm going to use grouping, I need how many terms? 4. And what's going to happen is this. When using the AC method, you see the term that has the variable x, you're going to rewrite this using 2 terms. So you're going to rewrite 11x using 2 terms. That's the idea. Okay? All right, so look at your steps. Step number 1 says make sure the trinomial is in standard form. All right, ax squared plus bx plus c in descending order. Is it in standard form? Yes. Okay, step 2, factor out the GCF. What's the GCF? 1. All right, so there's really nothing to factor out. Step 3. All right, now that's where you're going to use, and I need to see this. You're going to use something that looks like an x, like this. All right, you're going to put an x there. So on your test, I'm going to have an x, and I expect that, now you see this x right here? That x divides this page, let's say, into 4 parts. I expect numbers to be in those 4 parts. All right, now here's the idea of that x. Now, you have ax squared plus bx plus c, right? A is a coefficient of x squared. B is a coefficient of x, and c is your constant. C is your constant. All right, if I'm going to use the AC method, the AC, the A is this A, and the C is this C. C is your constant. A is the coefficient of x squared. Okay? So, in this case, it's a good idea to actually write down what A is. What's A? 6. What's B? 11. What's C? 3. Write those down. That's important. And at the end of the course, when we talk about the quadratic formula, you're gonna see this again: A, B, and C. What's A? What's B? What's C?
Isn't B 11x?
No, B is a coefficient of x, so B is 11. All right, so that's important. So that's a good point she made. She asked, is B 11x? No, B is not 11x. B is a coefficient of x. What's a coefficient of x? 11. All right, so and some students will make the mistake and write B to be 11x, and then they'll get upset with me when they don't get full credit, because that's not what B is. B is not 11x. B is a coefficient of x, which is 11. All right, so here's the AC method. Okay, so you're going to look at the product AC, and that goes in this one right here. So if A is 6 and C is 3, then what's the product of A times C?
18.
So that's going to go here. That's where you put, that's what goes in that little spot, 18. Okay? B will go at the bottom part. B will go at the bottom. What's B in this case? 11. That goes here. All right? Now, you see the other 2 things that are empty? Those numbers you put in here, listen carefully to this. Whatever numbers you put in here, you want that product to be 18 and the sum to be 11. Okay? See, AC means product, right? Product to be 18, and you want the sum of those 2 numbers to be what? 11. So come up with some ideas. Give me 2 numbers whose product is 18 right off the bat. Tell me. 9 and 2. Okay. Is 9 times 2 18? Is 9 plus 2 11?
Yes.
Yeah. So right off the bat, you got the 2 numbers that work. Now someone could have said 6 and 3, right? Okay. So this is what you would do. Now remember, you're doing a lot of work on another sheet of paper. So you'd say 18, 11, 6, and 3. Now I agree. 6 times 3 is what? 18, but 6 plus 3 is not 11. Okay? So that would not be correct. All right? Okay, now once you do that, here's how easy this thing becomes. You remember a while ago I said the AC method involves grouping. Grouping that we've done has how many terms? 4. How many terms do you see here? 3. So what you're going to do now is going to take that middle term, the x term, and you're going to write it as 2 terms, these 2 numbers, because 9 plus 2 is what? 11. So here's what you're going to do. Watch carefully. 6x squared, and then you just write the 9 and the 2 with the x, because you can't just say plus 9 plus 2, because 9 plus 2 is what? 11. But that was not my middle term. What was my middle term? 11x. So you got to say 9x plus what? 2x. And then plus 3. Now, listen carefully to this now. You see how I put 9x first? You saw that? Yes or no? Okay. It did not matter. You could have said 6x squared plus 2x plus 9x plus 3. It did not matter. Okay? Does it matter which one I put first? No. Does not matter. You'll get the same answer in the end. Now, how many terms do you see? 4. If you see 4 terms, you're going to try factoring by grouping. Okay, let's group the first 2, group the last 2. What do I factor out from the first group?
3.
3x. 3x times what? 2x plus 3. Good. What is the GCF of the second group? 1. Now, guys, you got to say plus 1. You can't just leave the operation off. So in one of the worksheets, when you did the grouping a while back, some of you forgot the operations. So you lost a half a point or a fourth of a point, depending on what it was. Just don't make that mistake on the test. You got to have something. You got to say plus what? 1. In parentheses, what do you put? 2x plus 3. If you're doing this correctly, what do you notice about those 2 terms inside the parentheses? They're the same. And I said 2 terms, I mean the binomials. They're the same. And you factor it out, and so what's your answer? 2x plus 3 times 3x plus 1. Now again, just as before, don't go any further without checking. You know you have time to do that. You have time to do that. It's not like an ACT test where you only have 1 minute per question. You have time to do these. So let's check. Huh? Where get the 3x plus 1 grouping. You took out the 2x plus 3, 3x plus 1. Okay? If I factor out the 2x plus 3, what's left? 3x plus 1. So that's another reason why I gave you another worksheet on grouping, because some of you forgot what to do at this point. All right. Okay, let's check. What's 2x times 3x? 6x squared, which is what you wanted. What's the outer? The outer? 2x. The inner? 9x. When I add them up, what do I get? 11x. And what's 3 times 1? 3. So that's correct. Now remember a while ago I said, does it matter whether you put the 9x or 2x first? No. So over here, let's see if I get the same thing. Group the first 2, last 2. What do you factor out the first group? 2x. What do you get? Plus 1. What do I factor out the second group? Yeah, but you got to say what? Plus 3. Good. And what do you get? And if you do this correctly, these two should be the same, right? All right. So now you're going to factor out the 3x plus 1. So if I factor out the 3x plus 1, what's left over here? 2x plus what? 3. Is that the same thing? Yeah. All right. So it does not matter. Does not matter. All right. Let's look at number 2. All right, number 2. Let's do the same one we did here, right here. Let's do that one using the AC method. So I'm going to put this number 2, 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. All right. Now on your worksheet, so I'm gonna do this one like it shows here. Okay. So on your worksheet is gonna say AC equal blank and then sum equals blank. All right. Okay. Now before you even begin, you got to make sure, is this in descending order in standard form? Yes, you have ax squared plus bx plus c. What is a in this case? 6. What is b in this case? 11. What is c in this case? Negative 10. Not 10, negative 10. All right? Now, go over here, put in what AC is. What's the product of A and C then? Negative 60. Good. What is the sum? Remember, the sum has to be which of these right here? B. So you may want to just put in parentheses B right here. What's the sum needs to be? 11. All right, let's do this using that X. I want you to see that X. I want the X tends to be a better approach for most students. All right, so AC goes on the top one, B goes in the bottom one. So what number goes here? Negative 60. What number goes here? 11. And all you have to do is find two numbers. Use your calculator if you need to. Find two numbers whose product is negative 60. Let's do that first. And then whose sum is 11. But if you're having trouble kind of dealing with both at the same time, then do the product first. You have to do the product first. So give me two numbers whose product is negative 60. Let's say negative 10 and 6. Y'all agree? But is that the one you're going to use? No, because that's not 11. What's negative 10 plus 6? Not 4. Negative 4. What'd you want? 11. So that's what you go through. That's how you think about this. So that didn't work. So let's try another pair. What's going on? Let's try another pair. Give me two numbers whose product is negative 60. Negative 15 and what? Positive 4? Okay, negative 15. Let's first of all verify. Well, okay. 15 times 4 is 60, so let's try that. I'm going to go ahead right now and just put negative 4 and 15. Actually, let's do positive 4 and negative 15. Let me do that one. Is positive 4 times negative 15 negative 60? Yes. Is positive 4 and negative 15 a positive 11? No, it's negative 11. So what does that imply about these numbers right here? Just change your signs. So what's going to work will be, so you're going to have negative 4, 15. So that's the one that's going to work. So notice what you're going to go through with the AC method. It may be about 4 of these little X's before you get to the right one. So on your worksheet, you don't have enough room to put all those X's. Put that on another sheet of paper. What I want, though,
Is the right one?
is put the right one there. So right over here, listen to me, right over here, you're going to put the correct pair. Okay, so I'm making this up, but let's say this was our problem. It was 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. So you would say negative 60, you would say 11, then you would say negative 60, 11, and what would be your two numbers that you would put in the end?
15, negative 4.
15, negative 4. Or negative 4, 15, doesn't matter.
And
All right? So that's what goes there. Understand what I want to see? So if you do everything else correct and you forget this, you're going to lose a half a point. All right? So you want as many points as you can get. Okay. Now, Once we get the right pair, all you got to do is rewrite this trinomial as a polynomial with how many terms? 4. So you're going to say 6x squared, and then you're going to rewrite the 11, the positive 11x, as 2 terms. What are they?
6x squared plus 15x minus
Okay,
4x.
15. You want to put 15x first? That's fine. Minus 4x, and then
Minus 10.
minus 10. All right. Someone else could have said 16x squared minus 4x plus 15x and then minus 10. Doesn't matter. You'll get the same factorization in the end. All right. So just double check though that 15x minus 4x is that it's still that 11x. Okay. All right. Let's group. First 2, last 2. What are you going to factor out the first group?
3x.
What do you get?
2x plus
2x plus 5? All right, now remember when you have that negative right here, you got to factor out a negative GCF. So you're going to say minus
2.
what? 2. All right, now again, be careful when you factor out a negative. A negative 2 times what's a negative 4x? 2x. A negative 2 times what is a negative 10?
5.
Positive 5. And notice if you're doing this correctly, those two should be the same, and they are. So therefore, what's the answer? What are you going to factor out these two? 2x plus 5, and you're left with
3x minus 2.
3x minus 2. All right, and if you follow it out, you'll see that you'll get your polynomial. So the AC method. All right, let's look at number 3. Suppose in number 3, I had this. Let's make it 10x squared plus 7x, that's a 7, minus 6. 10x squared plus 7x minus 6. Is it in standard form? Okay, it's in descending order. Again, state A, B, and C. What's A? What's B? And what's C? Negative 6. What is AC equal to? Negative 60. What is the sum B equal to? 7. All right, so let's do our X. So remember, AC goes up here. So what number is going to go in this little area right here?
Oh, negative 60.
Negative 60. B goes to the bottom, 7. So now you got to find two numbers whose product is negative 60 and whose sum is 7. You want to try 12 and what? Negative 5? All right, let's see. Y'all agree that works? She said 12 and negative 5? Yep, that works. All right. Because 12 times negative 5 is a negative 60, and 12 plus a negative 5 is 7. Once you get that, the rest is easy. The rest is easy. 12, negative 5. The rest is easy. Because all you got to do now is just rewrite 7x using those two numbers you found, the 12 and negative 5. So you're going to say 10x squared. So what do I write?
2x. Wait, no.
Plus
Plus
12x,
12x
could,
minus 5x.
minus 5x
Minus 6.
minus 6. All right. And 12x minus 5x is what? 7x. All right, so now you have your 4 terms. So now I'm going to do grouping. Group the first 2. Group the last 2. What do I factor out the first group?
2x.
2x. What do you get?
5x plus 6.
Plus 6. All right, now be careful with the next one. You're going to factor out a negative 1. Good. You need that 1 there, that negative 1. Negative 1 times what is a negative 5x? 5x. Negative 1 times what's a negative 6?
6.
Positive 6. Yeah, if you're doing this correctly, those two should be the same, right? And you're done. You just got to factor it out. So what do I factor out those two groups?
5x plus 6,
Yep.
2x minus 1.
2x minus 1. And you're done. Again, you have time to check, so follow it out and make sure you get it correctly. right, so real quickly in your mind, all you're doing is saying this. What's 5x times 2x? So that's what I wanted. What's a positive 6 times a negative 1? Negative 6. And all I got to do now is check for that 7x. What's the outer?
Negative 5x.
What's the inner? And what's 12x and negative 5x? Positive 7x. That's all that is. Nothing really difficult about that. Number 4. What if you had this in number 4? What if you had 7x plus 20x squared minus 6? It's possible you could see this on my math lab. 7x plus 20x squared minus 6. We got to rewrite it, right? It's got to be in standard form. Put it in standard form. So how are you going to rewrite this? 20x squared plus 7x minus 6. All right. What is A in this case? 20.
Thank you.
What is B in this case? What is C in this case? What is C? Negative 6. You got to be careful. You got to keep the signs. So, what is AC? Use your calculator if you need to.
Hot down.
Negative 120. Negative 120. What is the sum? B. 7. All right, let's do the x then. So, AC, B. What number goes here? Negative 120. Good. What number goes here? All right, now this is going to be a little bit more difficult for you to come up with some pairs because of negative 120 being bigger than you normally would deal with. But try something. Come up with something. What do you want to try? 8 and 15? Okay. Now one of them has to be negative, right? So let's say negative 8, 15. Now you knew one of them had to be negative, correct? Okay. Because the product has to be negative. In order to get a negative product, one has to be positive, the other one has to be negative. Now, first of all, I'm just writing what someone told me. So verify that that product is negative 120. Is it? Okay. Is the sum positive 7?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so she got it right away. Are you always going to get it in the first try? No. You try something else. You're not going to have on a test, you're not going to have numbers that are going to be extremely large to where it'd be almost impossible to get it within the first 3 tries. It may take you 3 tries, but you'll eventually get it. Once you get this, once you verify that this is correct, then all you got to do is rewrite this using 4 terms and then group and you're done. So tell me what to write. Tell me what to write. 20x squared. What else? Plus, you want to put the plus first? Okay.
Yes, plus 15x minus 8x
Okay.
minus 6.
Minus 6, all right. Group the first 2, group the last 2.
5x.
Okay, good. 5x times
4x plus 3.
4x plus 3. All right.
Minus 2.
Minus 2 times
4x plus 3.
4x plus 3. Make sure you see this because a negative 2 times 4x is a negative 8x.
Look at me.
And a negative 2 times a positive 3 is a negative 6. And if you're doing this correctly, these two should be the same. And then finally, just like you did on previous worksheets, at that point, you have your answer. You're going to say,
4x plus 3.
right, because those two groups have 4x plus 3 as a common factor. And then when you factor the 4x plus 3, you're left with 5x
Minus 2.
minus 2. And you're done. That's all that is. All right, let's do 2 more with this. Let's try this one. 4x squared minus 4x minus 15. 4x squared minus 4x minus 15. All right, is it in standard form?
Yes.
What's A? 4, good. What is B?
4.
Negative 4. So that's where some of you can easily mess up. So B is not 4, B is a negative 4. Okay, so that's important. So you always got to be very careful at that point. And what is C?
15.
Negative 15. Negative 15. You could easily mess up with these signs and then do all that work and just mess all this up. So before you go any further, you got to make sure that all this is correct. A, B, and C are correct. Otherwise, you're doing all this for nothing. All right. A, C equal
Negative 60.
negative 60.
Yes.
Okay. B equal.
Negative 4.
Okay. All right. So let's try some numbers. So first of all, you got to fill in as much of this as possible right now. So AC goes here. We put negative 60. B goes here. I'm gonna put what? Negative 4. So you come up with two numbers whose product is a negative 60 and whose sum is a negative 4.
Negative 10 and 6.
Negative 10 and 6. So that one wasn't too bad to deal with. You could visually see it. Negative 10 and 6. Because negative 10 times a positive 6 is a negative 60. And negative 10 plus 6 is a negative 4. All right. And then a couple more steps and you're done. You just got to rewrite this. 4x squared. All right. How do I rewrite the middle term?
4x squared minus 10x.
Minus 10x. Okay.
Plus 6 minus
Plus
15.
6x though, right?
Yeah.
Minus 15. All right. So now that I have my 4 terms, I can group. What can I factor out the first group? 2x. What are you left with? 2x. 2x what?
2x minus 5.
2x minus 5
Plus 3
plus 3 times
2x minus 5.
2x minus 5. Now, if you had put the 6x first, then you would have got something different at that point, but your answer would have been the same. Okay, the answer would have been the same. So what do these two groups have in common?
2x minus 5.
And what do you end up with?
2x plus 3.
All right, 2x minus 5 times 2x plus 3. Okay. All right, number 6. Number 6, suppose you had 7x squared minus 2x plus 3. 7x squared minus 2x plus 3. What's A? Okay. What's B? Negative 2. Good. Negative 2. What's C? 3. Okay. What's A times C? 20. A times C. 7 times 3 is 21.
So that's
B is
2.
negative 2. All right. Now, again, be careful because some of you still said 2, and I'm sure you probably meant negative 2, but you still got to be careful with your signs. All right, I want you to think about this now. I'm going to fill this in. Okay, look, I'm going to say AC. What do I put here? I don't put negative here. What do I put here? 21. I put B here. What goes here? Negative 2. All right, now think. What two numbers multiplied together will be 21 and the sum will be a negative 2?
74. Wait, no.
7 and 3?
But it's not gonna be negative.
It's not going to be negative 2. And you may say, well, what about negative 7 and negative 3? Because negative 7 times negative 3 is a positive
Positive
21,
number, so
but
it's
does that
going to
give me
be
negative
negative
2? No. Anything else?
It's just prime.
All right, good. So nothing works here, right? So what does that mean about this? It's prime.
Better throw me for a loop.
It's prime. So I think on the worksheet you have, though, that nothing's prime. Nothing's prime. So the one I just gave you, they're all factorable. Okay? All right, so that was worksheet part A. Worksheet part A.